Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to the Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael, and everything works, Larry. I'm sitting here in the studio. We are live today because it is Camping for Hunger Week. Larry Elliott is sitting across the desk from me. He, of course, is with the Front Row Warren County CCAP, and we're going to talk about Camping for Hunger and the CCAP organization and the good that it's doing for those in our community. And it was so weird. Lonnie came in to the FM studio to make sure I remembered how all of this stuff worked because it's been so long since I've been in the studio. But Larry, you've been here for the last half hour, 45 minutes. We've been having a great conversation. Tell me a little bit about CCAP so that people understand when they're making these donations this week, the kinds of people that they're helping through the CCAP organization. Well,
we have the same population that we had before. We have about 3,000 heads of households. That number has grown. We've had an increase in the number of new applicants since March when we went into our emergency mode. But we're able to still take the money and the grocery gift cards that people give us, and we're able to buy food just in time, just when we need it, and serve these families. There's so many children out there, several thousand children now that are building up in the people that we serve. But it's basically the same population getting larger and also having more needs. So we need to give them more food, and we are doing that. We're giving them more food than we've ever given out before. We were talking when we were standing in the lobby earlier. I told you I read an article recently about the number of the population of food insecurity that is in our country, and that it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 54 to 56 million, and that was up 19 million from 2018. And a lot of it is due to the pandemic, and you bring a good point because people are out of work. So where they may have had kids at school where they're not necessarily at school now, they didn't have to feed them those lunches. Now their need is greater because the kids are at home doing some sort of hybrid learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really disrupted everything, including the way we had to change our entire process. We had to go from the normal CCAP where people came in and casually shopped for what they needed. All of a sudden, we're in emergency drive-by mode. We had to operate out of 15th Street School, and now we had a 1 week period where we were shut down, and we got back into CCAP in June, and we're going under a different regime right now. Now it's disrupting our families too. We have people who have lost their jobs. They still have children at home. They can't come in as often as they used to. When they do come in, we want to give them as much food as we possibly can. So we've adjusted to the food demand, to the situation that the families are facing, to the high levels of unemployment that are going on, and to those people who are food insecure. In Virginia, we have well over 1 million people. There may be 56 million nationwide. There's always been about 40 million. But we have well over 1 million people in the state of Virginia who have that problem, and we have a lot of people in Warren County who have that problem. Well, it's interesting. Over the course of this pandemic, I've talked to a lot of business owners, a lot of nonprofits about how COVID has impacted not just their day-to-day activities, but how they do business and how they conduct their events and they do their fundraising and try to accomplish their mission. And a lot of them are talking about changes that they've made, like you just mentioned, with COVID. Do you think some of those are going to stick around? Because I know we've tweaked Camping for Hunger this year, but based on what you're telling me and the tweaking that you've done at CCAP, we're going to continue to tweak, I think, as time goes on. I think so. When we started into the pre-packing, so we noticed a couple of things. Number one, when the pandemic first came out, we lost availability to our volunteers. A lot of them were seniors, like me, and they were concerned and their families were concerned about their health. We could not camp out, so to speak, in our CCAP offices because there's less than 1,000 square feet there. That's why we moved to the 15th Street School. Once we started prepacking food, and we're very careful about the menu planning and so forth, we found that our clients like what we're giving them. So we're thinking maybe we'll do pre-pack as we transition back to normality, see how that works. If they know they're going to get more food, and if they know they're going to get a wider menu, and if they know they're going to get fresh foods during the summertime, pre-packing might be the way to go, requires less volunteers, and so forth. So that's one of the things we're thinking about. And we're also trying to figure out how to adjust back and get more volunteers, new volunteers, to come into CCAP as we approach next year.
And food pantries, as we've traditionally known them as a place for someone to go and get food, that's going to stay the same.
Yep.
But how you are accumulating that food is changing, much like what we're doing with Camping for Hunger this year, because you were telling me that this new program, this just-in-time, allows you through monetary donations to purchase what you need when you need it cheaper than what any of us could probably pay for it if we were to go buy it and donate it to you.
That's exactly right. I can take your dollar and make it go 4 times further than you can make it go because of the leverage we have with the food bag. I actually stole the phrase just in time from a management book I read many years ago. It's just-in-time manufacturing. They said we want to bring our inventory in just when we need it so we don't have to build warehouses. We don't have to do storage. We don't have to move from point to point to point. So if I get a grocery gift card or if I get cash, I can go whenever I need to go to get just the food I need just in time and give it to just the right people who really are in need. And I avoid a lot of storage stops and goes throughout that. So it's very efficient, and we feel that in our work. We actually have fewer volunteers in some areas that we had before. So the cash is golden, and we can, as I was telling you earlier, the food bank gave us a metric. It basically says because of all the leverage we get, and they're very big on just-in-time too, and big on the cash, that for every dollar you give, we can provide 4 meals.
Wow.
So take $1,000. Guess what we can do with that?
And and you mentioned earlier the number of people in the state of Virginia and then the number of people that you serve here. And I would imagine when you combine that with the pre-packing, that does make it easier because as much as we love seeing the cases of green beans and corn and all of that stuff that always comes in year after year to the bus, there's only so much you can do with that versus being able to be more diverse in the food offerings that you're giving to your customers.
That's right. The food donations are great. We're happy that people want to take the time to do that. But we always end up with an imbalance. So we have to augment because we can't make the menus that we want. We want to serve a menu that's a wide variety of things, all nutritious, good foods, as many fresh foods as we can get in there with that. So the other part of just-in-time cash and grocery cards allows us to keep a total balance of our inventory at all times, and that's magical.
And you mentioned this a minute ago when you were talking about volunteers and when you're having food storage, having warehouses, having places to keep it. You guys you have the lowest overhead of any nonprofit that I personally am aware of because you've been able to kind of finagle and move some things around like that.
That's true. We've been, on average, over the last at least decade that I've been hanging out with CCAP, it's been about 94 cents out of every dollar goes directly to the clients who need the help in the form of food, utility assistance, clothing, and some emergency financial aid. So it's a very clean operation. It's the sharpest operation I've ever been in working with, and I've worked with a lot of large companies.
Well, I laugh that you say hanging out with CCAP because you probably put in a lot of hours. I know you put in a lot more than you're going to admit to me right now on the air, I would bet.
Well, I put in a few hours, but our office manager, Janet Harshman, she has won the Olympic gold medal for particularly through this pandemic stage. It's absolutely astonishing the amount of work time that she has put in. And all of our volunteers are always doing a little more than they need to, sometimes more than they should. So our folks work hard. I think they're dedicated to this point because they realize and they see face-to-face the impact that this is making on the community.
And you're serving a piece of our population that really doesn't have a whole lot of other options. And I've talked for years. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to Elise from United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley about this point. But a lot of people start with a food insecurity. Mm-hmm. They will forego getting medications. They'll forego getting medical treatment or any other. They'll put gas in their car before they will get food. This really does check that box and eliminates a lot of stress for them.
It does, because I say that a lot of our clients are in the gap. They're in the in-between period, so they have to make a decision about every single thing they do. If it's a bill of having gas or rent, food, clothing, whatever it is, they have to make a decision, one or the other. Can't have both. So, and some of them are in the middle ground. They can't get DSS services because they don't meet the criteria. They can't quite get SNAP. But they still are food insecure. They still don't know where the next meal is coming from. So we're filling these gaps as hard and fast as we can and trying to give them the kind of service where they don't have to worry. You can't imagine the stress that people go through if they have to live in the gap all their life.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. Before we do, I want to make sure everybody knows. So Liz is sitting down at the bus now. The Camping for Hunger bus is located here at the radio station today. We are here collecting food and monetary donations from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. Liz is out there now waiting to take your food donation. If, however, you want to do what Larry was talking about earlier and turn your dollar into 4 meals, you have a couple of different options. You can go to theriver953.com. On that front page is a banner, says Camping for Hunger. Click on it, goes right to Larry's PayPal account. They're a 501c3. It's all completely tax deductible. Or if you're more of a Facebook kind of person, if you go to the River 953 on Facebook, the pinned post at the very top of our news feed also has the link, so you can go there and click, and it will take you to the PayPal account. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Larry Elliott. He is here on behalf of Front Royal Warren County CCAP. It is Camping for Hunger Week. I am live in the studio today, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Do you know anyone who is struggling with financial hardships because of coronavirus? Our new webinar called Coping with the Money Crunch can help. We'll talk about immediate options to consider, revising or creating a spending plan, and lots of community resources. Then we'll cover how to narrow your priorities, contact creditors, and avoid scams and risky loans. The webinar is free, and you can either join by phone or through Zoom on a smartphone, tablet, or computer. You can find out more by visiting the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program on Facebook or calling Karen Poff at 540-635-4549. Let me show you how to make your own plan or help someone you care about get through the crisis. Call 635-4549 or visit at NSV Financial Education on Facebook today.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We are live in the studio today for the Valley Today episode because it is Camping for Hunger Week. The bus is parked out here and in the parking lot at the radio station. We are located at 1106 Elm Street. If you're coming down 55 heading towards the Apple House, which, by the way, if you want to bring donuts, nobody here would be too upset if you missed us and went to the Apple House and brought us donuts back. But you'll see the signs to turn onto Tower Road to get to the station to drop off your food or monetary donation. We are in the studio talking with Larry Elliott from Front Royal Warren County CCAP. They are the beneficiary of Camping for Hunger for, 10 years or more now, I think it has been, hasn't it, Larry?
Right about 10, yeah. You've been 12 years with the radio, but I think I came in here about 10 years ago.
And we love working with you because of all of the things that we talked about in the first segment. But I want to make sure people understand, because we touched on this briefly, and I don't think we can talk about it enough, the power of cash. I mean, we all know the power of cash in our own lives and in our own personal life. But the power of cash and the impact that it has on you being able to serve more people in a much more powerful and useful way.
Yeah, cash. The power of cash is that it's fast, it's flexible. I don't have to buy a warehouse to stockpile cash. I just take it over to the bank and drop it off, and I go pick it up when I need it. I don't have to worry about any of the infrastructure that goes along with storage, large amounts of food. When we had the challenge, was it last year, 12 tons of food through this. We had, I looked at that bus when it was stuffed with food, and I felt so good. And then I said, well, I better go get some Bengay now because all of us, we got to go pack this stuff away, including you.
Yeah. That was a long day or a long morning.
Extremely long day. And we have to move it. We have volunteers who have to move it out of one place into another place. But it really does allow us to go over and maintain a balanced inventory of great food. We get just what we want, just when we need it. And we also can meet the needs of our people. We find out more about what they want and what they need, and we can adjust literally in a 24-hour period if we need to do that. We have contact with several people in a row, and they're telling us about what they need. We will adjust to that. We can't adjust to that 6 months in advance because we don't know what's going to come up. But that's the way it works, and it gives a great deal of flexibility for us.
And so much of those monetary donations, you mentioned earlier the percentage of how much of that actually goes right back into the hopper. It's not paying salaries. It's not going to overhead like you see in a lot of cases on a national and state level.
That's true, because we have a very small place. And so the good deal is we don't have any rent right now because we work under St. Luke's as our landlord. We have some significant electricity bill because we have a lot of coolers and freezers through there. Otherwise, our overhead is extremely low, and we can keep it that way. And we like to watch out for the ratios that are going on. We really keep track of them. We track our food. We have automated our financial system. We know where all the pennies go. We know how many pounds of food come in and out. So we track it carefully. We have a great management system that allows us to do that.
And people can designate when they make a donation. You were telling me during the break, they can designate and put on, which they can mail a check, and we'll get the address before we wrap up, but they can designate that they want their donation to go to fresh food, or they maybe want it to go to that building fund. We were talking about the changes that the pandemic has kind of brought on for how you guys are doing things. You joked with me during the break to ask you about the CCAP of the future. So I didn't want you to tell me what CCAP of the future was because I wanted to hear it firsthand along with my listeners. Tell me what you foresee as the CCAP of the future.
Well, you're seeing it now. You're seeing the CCAP for the first time using PayPal online donation. You're seeing a brand new web page that was updated just 2 months ago that has a lot more information, but in a smaller, concise way. You can quickly figure out exactly what we do and how we do it and the results that we achieve. As I think I alluded to before, we put all of our financial systems on QuickBooks. So we have a software system. We can produce a balance sheet in 24 hours or less if we need to. We know where things are located. We worked with the food bank to get the Link to Feed client management system. So we have candidate records or client records. We can see how much they pick up and when they pick up and how often. We can develop the trends, the needs, the management of those needs, and so forth. Everything we're doing is moving us finally into the 21st century and maybe just a little bit ahead. So you can see all the technology that we're taking advantage of. The one thing that we're missing is space. We do not have a state-of-the-art place to work out of. It's not large enough. We crash into each other. There's not enough room for our patients or our clients, rather, to come in and get ready to pick out their own food and so forth. So we need a facility. So the thing that's missing for the CCAP of the future is that new facility that will attract more volunteers. They'll have a safe place to work in, a more casual place to work in. So those are the things that we're working on.
And we're not talking about some big fancy new building. I mean, you're looking at existing buildings that you can modify to your needs. And of course, I know you personally, you're looking at those within a budget because you're, I'm not going to say cheap because I like you. I will say frugal. You are very frugal with CCAP money and what you want to do with that money when it comes to you.
That's because I'm a Scotsman.
I thought it was your military background.
No, I'm a Scotsman. And my family, my ancestors came from Howick, Scotland. And there's a Scottish word called surcy. In the financial world, you never want a surcy because a surcy is a surprise. So we avoid that. We manage things as closely as we can. And that's the way we pay attention to what's going on. And I think it gives us the leverage. I can go to someone who wants to donate, and I say, look, here's exactly how we operate. Here are my books. Here's my balance sheet. You can see it all. And it gives them reason to believe that we know what we're doing, and we do.
And that makes a big difference when somebody is looking to write a check. You know, it makes a big difference to people who are wanting to give you $5, much less $50,000 or $500,000. I'm just throwing it out there because what do they say? If you see it, then it will,
It's important to make that distinction because I mentioned the metric before. If you give us $1, we can get 4 meals. So if somebody gives me $5, I said, look what you've just done. So that's important. And the big show that's going on out here. Every little increment counts. And that's what we say. You can designate, mail it in to 316 North Royal Avenue, Front Royal 22630. Write a check in there. On the memo, designate it the way you want to do it. You'll say, I want to help you with your fresh food program. That's ongoing. It goes throughout the year now. I want to help you with your building fund. We do have an active building fund. We're trying to get to that future where we have a facility that will really work for us. Designate it for utility assistance, or anything you can think of. Family cleaning supplies for the houses, the toiletry stuff, all these things, you can designate it. We want to do with your money what you want us to do with it.
And we were talking too during the break, and sometimes it's difficult. Like, I always bought stuff. Because I'm a shopper, it's just who I am. But I always like going into the grocery store and selecting things because I felt like I was playing a very important role. I had a different mindset than what I've come to realize from years of being on the bus. I would go in, and if I were getting stuff for my family, I would just get 2 because I'm going to give what I would want somebody to give to me to use. I think sometimes we fall into the trap, well, given that money is just so impersonal, it is a whole lot more than that because of the number of persons that you're able to help with it.
That's true. It spreads it out. You can actually do more. The leverage that we can bring, as I said before, I can probably do 4 times more than you can with your own dollar. And we take note of everybody who gives us. We know exactly who they are. If they sign the check, I think probably 100% of them get a thank you letter. Kathleen Brown, our Treasury Secretary, she writes a personal note to everybody to remind them that we are grateful for it. I write a lot of these myself. And I'm so kind of pushy. I say, thank you very much. But we're also going to be doing this in the future. So I'd like to remind people how to make those dollars work. But if you give us those dollars, we're going to make them powerful dollars, the most powerful dollars that you've ever seen in your life.
Maybe we'll have to completely switch out Camping for Hunger in one of the coming years and just fill it with cash.
Wow. Well, that would involve overhead like Brinks and all those guys.
That's true. That might get a little more complicated.
That's why PayPal is a part of the just-in-time chain that we have in place. The U.S. Postal Service will deliver your checks and so forth. But we will stockpile them. We will make a count of them, and we'll be accountable to you. We give an annual report out every year. It tells you what we did and how we did it.
And you've mentioned fresh food a couple of times because I know this is near and dear to your heart because it wasn't something that was offered 5 years ago, really, unless you got lucky and somebody came in and said, hey, I had extra tomatoes in my garden, or an orchardist said, hey, I've got extra apples left over after the season. But this is now integrated into your food program.
It's one of our most popular programs. I have to give credit to our office manager, Janet Harshman. I think it's 3 years, maybe 4 years ago. She comes up and says, our people do not have access to fresh food. They just can't do it. It's expensive. So we have to do something. And so we wrote a grant out to the food bank people, and we got a 72-inch wide double-door cooler for produce. We got that down into the program. And then during that year, on the Camping for Hunger, we asked for people to give us more grocery cards and cash. We took that cash and we went over to all the grocery stores in our area, and she and her shopping team bought fresh produce, fruit, everything else, eggs, cheese, milk, so forth, and she stuffed it into those coolers, and people came in often to get that fresh produce. So that's expanded now. We got another cooler. Actually, we got a couple more coolers since then. And then this past summer, the people in Front Royal, Mike Graham and Fern Vasquez and others, created the Victory Garden for the first time, and they dedicated it to CCAP, 501c3s, and food banks and so forth. We get tons of stuff coming out of that garden. And we adjusted the rule. We said, because it's coming out of the Victory Garden, if you need fresh produce and you need food, we'll give it to you no matter who you are. And then I had significant donations from Mountain Echo Farms up on Browntown Road. So fresh food now is a big deal for us, and we need some of the cash to be able to go out and get that stuff while it's fresh.
And we've got to wrap up in another minute or two, but I want to make sure, because you mentioned this just now about being a client of CCAP. That is not a difficult process either. So people can do that pretty quickly, I understand.
They can. I mean, they can. When they come in, when they drop by, we still have a food drive-by, so they can pick up an application right there. We're in the process of putting a PDF version of it on our website and on our Facebook page so they can download it. and they can send it into our email, ourccap@gmail.com. And so we can do that online. We'll be able to do that online probably within the next week or two.
And tell me again, where can people mail checks if they want to write you one, preferably with a comma?
316 North Royal Avenue, Front Royal, Virginia, 22630.
And the checks with commas are your favorite, aren't they?
They are. I love to watch them come in, and I like to watch them go to the food bank, and I like that food to go out to the community.
Well, we are going to wrap up our conversation today with Larry Elliott from Front Royal, Warren County CCAP. It is Camping for Hunger Week. The bus is parked here at the station at 1106 Elm Street. You will make a right off of 55 onto Tower Road. You can't miss the food drive signs. I am here for a little bit longer, but then I have puppies in a crate that I have to get home to. So come by, drop off your monetary donations, drop off your food donations. You can also go to theriver953.com, click the Camping for Hunger banner at the top of the page, or go to our Facebook page. The post at the very top also has the link where you can go and make a donation. It's all tax deductible, and as Larry mentioned, for every $1 that you give, you can do 4 meals, which is fantastic. So go feed a bunch of people today. Donate, $10, $50, $100 if you can, and give back to the Front Royal Warren County CCAP, because in doing that, you are actually giving back to your community, and this is what we all want to do right now during Thanksgiving and Christmas, regardless of the pandemic. I'll be back here tomorrow having a conversation with United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley. Meet me here at noon.